to order. It's customary for the previous secretary of the board to lead off this first meeting of the year. So with that, I will call roll. Commissioner Vita. Here. Commissioner French.
Here.
Commissioner Forney.
Here.
Commissioner Bourne.
Here.
Commissioner Musich.
Present.
Commissioner Cogill.
Present.
Commissioner Severson.
Here.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Commissioner Hassan.
Here.
We have a quorum. I will next move on to the approval of the agenda. There are a few changes that I would like to offer prior to it being moved. The first one is that there is no presentation prepared tonight, so I would strike the presentation. The second change, if you turn to the second page of the agenda, the correct name for 7.2 is the Metro Blue Line Extension Corridor Management Committee. And then I would strike 7.15 because there are no appointments necessary at this time. So with those changes, I would entertain someone moving the agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? You have an agenda. Okay, at this point, we will move on to the election of officers. After the president of the board has been nominated and approved by the board for 2019, I will then hand the gavel over to that individual. So just to talk through the process here, I will initially ask for nominations. When nominations are complete, I will call a vote. If there's more than one nomination, I will do a roll call vote, and you will identify who you're voting for as I do that roll call. If we don't have a majority at that time, then I will seek counsel from Brian Rice, and we will go from there. So with that, may I have a nomination for the president of the board for 2019? Commissioner Meyer.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Bourne.
Commissioner Bourne has been nominated. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Bourne has been nominated, and there is a second. Do I have any other nominations? Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, Secretary Ringgold. I'd like to nominate Latricia Vita. Second.
Commissioner Vita has been nominated, and there is a second. Do I have any additional nominations for president of the board? Any additional nominations for the president of the board? And one last time, any additional nominations for the president of the board? Okay, I will do a roll call. When I call your name, please indicate which commissioner you are voting for president of the board.
Do we get an opportunity to speak to this item prior to the vote?
I will seek counsel from Brian Rice.
Turn your phone.
I believe in the past, short speeches have been allowed.
Okay. I think we can use our 2-minute rule on that for short speeches. I will keep track of that on my phone. 1 second, let me get that up. Okay. I see a light from Commissioner Musich. Are there any others who would like to speak to the nominations? So I see Musich, Forney, Cogill, Meyer, and Vita. All right. Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, Secretary Ringgold. Commissioner Vita, I've watched you spend this first year as a commissioner learning how the park board works and where its challenges are, excellent preparation for whatever comes this year. I've witnessed you successfully earn the friendship of each of your fellow commissioners, as well as members of the staff from each and every aspect of this organization. This is the way that I want to see the Park Board led in 2019, by an individual that sees the value in each of their colleagues and understands our motivations to a degree that you're well positioned to help us navigate to a place of consensus that benefits the people, all the people of Minneapolis. And I ask you, my colleagues, will you empower a woman that has tried to make peace and build bridges between the factions on this board? Because I believe that we need someone who's going to put collaboration amongst the commissioners at the center of this dais. Someone who puts parks above party loyalties. And Commissioner Vita is that leader. And I ask you to join me in voting for her as the next president of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, the first African-American woman to do so. Thank you.
Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. 2018 was the first year for many on our board. We completed many transactions. For 2019, I look forward to us all moving from just transactions to real transformations. Approaching our roles as commissioners from a transactional perspective was issue-based. We helped individuals negotiate existing structures. Our solutions were transacted with institutions, which had short-term gains for community, but have left the existing structures in place. As we move into 2019, we will be undertaking one of our signature initiatives, setting our comprehensive plan. For this, we need to turn our work from campaign topics to real governance with transformational approaches, to cut across multiple institutions, to focus on real policy and organizational culture, to shift cultural values and political will to create racial equity. For that, we need leadership that is transformative. That leader is Commissioner Vito. She is a fighter and feisty, as well as one who seeks collaboration, not opposition. I am proud to call her my friend, and I know most on the board feel the same way. She sincerely cares about you as individuals. Our work in 2018 was based on one-on-one transactions, one-shots, piecemeals, not visionary initiatives, to make true transformative outcomes. Substantiated data and quantifiable measures need to be established. Commissioner Vito has quantified and documented for only 20 years. Her success ratio in major policy change on every level of state's government is stellar. She is not a transactional leader. She is a transformative leader with broad and deep relationships with key policymakers. Transactional versus transformative. Commissioner Vito is that leader. Her career has been in policy setting, transforming the lives of young African-American youth, not through transactions, but by establishing sweeping, transformative policies. Lastly, Latricia and I received the highest number of votes in 2017 park election. Yet for me, this was after 4 years of serving and campaigning for 10 months. Latricia threw her hat in the ring 10 weeks before the election and had a broken ankle. The woman has gravitas. We need her now as our president of the board.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Commissioner Coyle.
Thank you. I'd like to say a few words about my desire to support President Bourne for a second term as the president of the Park Board. It has been a banner year for the Park Board with a major transition in leadership across the board, 6 new members. A lot has had to be learned by all, especially in how to work together, and I don't think that we've fully arrived at our ability to do that with full grace, but I'm hopeful for the next year because I've seen a couple of things that make me believe that our current leader is the right leader for another year at the helm. We had a unanimous budget. We were able to hire the first African-American male superintendent of the park board system, and we had a couple of key victories, especially regarding a major lawsuit that I think was handled very well by our leadership. It is my understanding that generally park board presidents serve for a couple of years. I don't see enough to detract from President Bourne's year in the past year to say that he should not continue leading this board. I'd also like to say that part of my hope this year is that all of our membership have an opportunity to lead, all of our commissioners, and that is why I have asked the president to ensure that we do have different leadership in our committee chairmanships, and that is what I will be seeing once this election of the president happens, I believe.
Thank you, Commissioner Cogill. Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. I'm proud to support Brad Bourne for a second term as president. I think he's done an excellent job as president. He's worked extremely hard. He values his own health a lot less than I do because he's working another full-time job on top of this one and really putting in a lot of work, and that really helped us get a lot done. We had a tremendous amount that we accomplished this year, way more than in a typical park board year. I did have conversations with Brad about changing some leadership style and echoing Commissioner Cogill's sentiments on that I want to have a more collaborative board, but I still think Brad Bourne is the right person to lead it at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Commissioner Vita.
Thank you. Commissioner Musich and Forney, thank you so much for those touching words. That was not expected at all. So thank you. I accept the challenge, of course. Somebody said, I can't even remember, but somebody said I'm feisty. That's a true word. But I do appreciate all the work that President Bourne's done under his leadership, but I too believe that we need a change in leadership. We have a new superintendent coming soon, and I think that there's been a lot of tension, and we need to really focus on having a board that would work with the new superintendent and not against. This year, I heard many times me referred to as the opposition, and if folks looked at our body of work, I wouldn't refer to any of us as opposition. I think we all were on the same team. I think that there were some public disagreements, and I also think that that's fine. I think it's okay to disagree. I think it's okay to have the same goals but get there in different places. I'm looking forward to the future. I hope that we as a board will work better together in 2019 under whatever leadership we have. And again, I thank you all so very much for this past year. I've had the chance to get to know some commissioners better than others, but I'm looking forward to moving forward as a board with our new superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vita. Commissioner Bourne.
Thank you, Acting Chair Ringgold. I'd be honored. I'm honored to accept the nomination for the president of the Park Board for another year. Commissioner Meyer, thank you for the nomination. If elected, I'd be happy to continue to serve while helping Superintendent Bangora transition into the new position and continue to work on getting this board to accomplish the things that we need to accomplish together in the time ahead. Together, I'd like us to turn the page and look to the future, and I think we do this together in a few different ways. I think we continue to build on our campaign for youth that was started under Superintendent Merrill this year. Thank you, Superintendent Merrill, for your work. That campaign for youth includes the expansion of our youth job programs, our out-of-school time activities, our full-service community campuses, our summer free lunch program, and an eventual elimination of youth activity fees and making sure that everybody has access to our world-class parks. I'm happy to help us lead through the Park Board's next multi-million-dollar conundrum, which I think many of us have just read about in the paper today, and in the last couple of days, the lawsuit over the downtown commons, and who will have that opportunity to manage a downtown park. That's a multi-million-dollar problem that I'm looking forward to helping all of us come to some consensus around. And I want to help us again lead on our next comprehensive plan that will be focused on equity and inclusion. I still believe our parks are for everyone, and I believe our board's best days are still ahead of us. Last year, at this time, I called being the president of the park board the honor of my life. And I should clarify that. Being the president of this board has been the honor of my life. I'd be the first to admit that we've often had disagreements on issues, but I think every one of the 9 of us here cares for the city of Minneapolis, cares for our parks, cares for our youth, and cares for our families. And I'm happy to have those disagreements on how to best serve them, but I think everybody on this board is talking about how to best serve them. After reaching out and having conversations with most all of you, I am the first one to acknowledge I have some blind spots, and I have not been the perfect president for this board. I've done my best. I've done my earnest best, and I would continue to do my earnest best on your behalf. That means talking about issues and how we best serve our youth and families in Minneapolis, and maybe moving on a little bit past the personality conflicts that are clear on this board. And if we can focus on what all of us want to do for youth and families in the city of Minneapolis, I think everyone would be best served. And I think all 9 of us at one time or another have had some issues where we have let our personalities stand in the way of what is best for the families and youth in the city of Minneapolis, me being one of those. So I'd be honored to have your support if you would have me. And I also want to thank Commissioner Vita for accepting the nomination and for running and for having the best intents for youth and families in the city of Minneapolis. She and I have had some disagreements along the way, but her motivations have always been incredibly pure. And so should the board choose Commissioner Vita, I would continue to put in the 40, 50 hours a week that I have been right now to make sure that the next president of the board is successful.
Commissioner Bourne?
So with that, I would ask for your support.
Okay, with that, are there any other individuals who would like to speak to the nominations? Okay, again, I will read your name in a roll call fashion, and when I read your name, you are articulating which individual you are voting for to be the 2019 president of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. Beginning with Commissioner Musich.
Vita.
Commissioner Cogill.
Bourne.
Commissioner Severson.
Born.
Commissioner Meyer.
Born.
Commissioner Vita. Commissioner French.
Born.
Commissioner Forney.
Vita.
Commissioner Hassan.
Born.
Commissioner Bourne.
Born.
There are 6 votes for Commissioner Bourne, 1 vote for Commissioner Vita. Commissioner Bourne is the president of the
What?
Minneapolis.
No, 3.
3 votes for Commissioner Vita.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You said 1, I think there were 3.
Okay.
Oh, I apologize. My apologies. 3 votes for Commissioner Vita. The president for the Minneapolis Park Board in 2019 is President Bourne.
Thank you. Thank you, board members, for your support. For those of you that did not, I look forward to the continued opportunity to earn your support. I will move on with the agenda. I would open up, thank you. I would open up nominations for vice president of the Minneapolis Park Board. Commissioner, I didn't see, was it Commissioner French and then Meyer? Commissioner French.
I would like to nominate A.K. Hassan for Vice President of the Minneapolis Park Board.
A.K. Hassan has been nominated. Is there a second on the nomination?
Second.
Commissioner Hassan has been nominated and seconded. Are there further nominations? Commissioner Meyer.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Vita.
Commissioner Vita has been nominated. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Vita's nomination has been entered and seconded. Before I ask if folks want to speak to the nominations, Commissioner Hassan, would you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Commissioner Vita, would you accept the nomination?
Of course.
Is there anyone that would like to discuss the nominations? Is there anyone that would like to discuss the nominations? I have Commissioner Meyer, followed by Vita. Cogill. I will allow the candidate to speak last. So I have Meyer, Cogill, Vita. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Vice President or Commissioner Hassan, would you like to speak to your own nomination? Yes. I will start with Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. I wrote out my thoughts on this race earlier this afternoon. I'll let people read that to get my full thoughts on the matter. But I, do feel that Commissioner Vita has done a good job on the board. Out of all the commissioners that could hold a grudge against her if they wanted to, I would have the most justification to, because I was the only candidate where she was campaigning for my opponent in the last campaign. But once I got to know her, we connected pretty fast, and we've had a lot of great conversations, sometimes really heated ones, but always productive ones. I'm impressed that Latricia always tells you what she thinks, whatever that is, and I think it would help move the board in a better direction, to have the people who haven't supported Brad to at least feel that they have a voice and a seat at the table. So I encourage other commissioners to vote for Commissioner Vita. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Commissioner Cogill.
Thank you, President Bourne. So we've done a lot in the last year, and I have not been more exhausted over an issue than over the issue of the vice president vote. I thought that pesticide-free parks would be the big thing, but it was not that. And I certainly have learned a lot in this process, and certainly have learned a lot about how to navigate personalities, and also how to come to consensus and come to solutions that will make the board a stronger board. And while I certainly agree with Commissioner Meyer that seats at the table are critical, my idea for what that solution looks like is a little bit different. And I want to first thank Commissioner Vita for running for vice president, because the thing that is so critical about coming forward and doing that is to really acknowledge that we need to improve as a board, and we need to bring everybody in the process. And as I mentioned before in my comments on the presidency, the solution that I am asking for is that the chairs of admin and finance, operations, and planning be given to other folks than myself. I'm stepping away from that position, and it is my hope that that solution gives more folks a seat at the table and more of a voice in furthering the really critical work we have to do for youth in our cities right now. I also believe that Commissioner Hassan, while we all have room to grow, has shown that he believes very much in his position and really wants to improve, and I'm sure he'll speak to that in a few moments. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Cogill. Commissioner Forney.
Thank you. Just to add on to the comments that I already said about Commissioner Vita, which president or vice president, she still holds those qualities true. My husband, who's in the audience here, and also I'll note that Commissioner Vita's husband, who's also in the audience. My husband wrote a poem about Latricia, and her comments was, Latricia is a truth teller. And in these times of alternative facts and fake news, she speaks from her heart with truth and justice. That's who we need today in our vice presidency.
Before I recognize Commissioner Vita or Hassan, I just want to say a couple of words too before the vote. I've worked side by side with Vice President Hassan the last year, and side by side with Commissioner Vita. Both were incredibly instrumental in the selection of Superintendent Bangora, and I had the opportunity to see both of them thrive in their leadership positions. I think one of the next leaders of the board is one of the two of them. And I'm just inspired by the new leadership that we've been joined with here. I do believe that I will end it there. I'm very proud of the work that both have done. And so I will leave it with that, and I will go to Commissioner Vita.
Thank you, President Bourne. So again, I accept the challenge for Vice President, and the reason, I just want to note that for Vice President, I took the time to ask all commissioners to support me in this role, including the current Vice President, A.K. Hassan, because I felt like this was a job that definitely needed to change more than anything. I think that this position matters most in how we move forward with other commissioners. I've had several commissioners tell me that, well, it's just Vice President, it's really not a position. But I look at it differently. I think that where the President falls short, the Vice President should pick up. And I really haven't seen that happen. We have members on the board that don't feel represented, and they don't feel represented because current leadership is together. They work together, they see everything as one. I had my very first meeting with the current Vice President 2 weeks ago for the first time in a year, and that to me wasn't okay. I believe that moving forward with our new superintendent, folks want to feel represented, folks want to feel like they have a voice on the board. We work well together, I think, but I also think that there's a lot of blind spots, and if we don't change it up a little bit, it's gonna get worse. I also, I don't want it to sound mean, but some work needs to be done. Some work needs to be done in this seat. People say that it's not a real job, and it should be. It shouldn't be just a title. You shouldn't just be the Vice President of the board. You should be working. You should be working to build. You should be working to build relationships. You should be working to bridge gaps if there's gaps. You should be standing beside the president and doing whatever needs to be done, and each and every board member that needs your support to work alongside the president if that's what needs to happen. It just shouldn't be a title. It should be a job, and as the vice president, you should be working that job, and I threw my name in the hat and I asked for support because I want to do that job. If that's what the vice president's role has been in the past, is to just be a position, it would end with me as soon as I'm elected into that position. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Vita. Commissioner Hassan.
Thank you, President Bourne. Well, let me tell you a story about how I got to where I am today. Well, I was one of those kids that grew up in the parks, PV Park, a park that I always talk about, a park that I used to play soccer, basketball, and met a lot of friends, and actually became the chair of my neighborhood and president of Enjoy Village. Just working out, volunteering and giving back to my community in Enjoy Village. And one of the biggest issues that I've seen in the park system that I cared the most was the active pass. And Tyrese, our assistant superintendent, Tyrese Cox knows, it has been a big issue for me. I've seen a lot of kids, immigrants, foster kids, that have struggled using our park system. I worked hard and I ran just to change that. And I didn't just come in for a problem. I came in a problem with a solution. And I worked with our operations, and I worked with Tyrese Cox. And so kids in our city have to have an ID to use in a park system. That's completely, I get it how we got there, but that bothered me the most because some kids don't have money. And when kids lose a card, they have to pay money. They have to pay $1. That bothered me because some kids don't have parents. Some kids are immigrants, don't have access, don't know who to ask because their parents travel. And I used to work in Phillips Community Center, and I see kids asking me all the time, "Do you have $1?" Why? Because they won't let me use the gym because they lost the ID. And kids lose IDs. That's that's who kids are. But I ran and to change that, and I worked with Tyrese and a few other staff in the park board to change that. So we came up with a new solution where kids will create a 4-digit PIN instead of ID. Now, kids in our city don't have to worry about paying $1 using our park system. I just want to thank and give a shout out to Tyrese in making that happen. I've done a lot, and I've worked with our president. I've worked with Brad Bourne. It's been an honor for me, and I've worked hard to make sure everyone in our city has a voice in our park system, and I'm willing to continue to make sure we have a voice. Everyone has a voice in the city. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I ask your support.
Thank you, Commissioner Hassan. Secretary, are there any other speakers to the nominations?
Just point of order. Do we have a time certain or not?
I have a question for Council Rice.
Right.
We do normally have a 5:30 time certain open time in the regular meeting. We are not in our regular meeting right now, so that would mean.
I think you need to wrap up the annual meeting. That's precedence.
Yeah, so I will be concluding the annual meeting as quickly as possible, and we will be opening open time at the very start of our regular meeting. So I would ask Secretary Ringgold to please take the roll on the vice presidency for 2019.
Thank you, President Bourne. Commissioners, I will read off your name in roll call order. Please indicate which individual you would like to vote for Vice President for 2019 when I call your name. Commissioner Musich.
Vita.
Commissioner Cogill.
Hassan.
Commissioner Severson.
Hassan.
Commissioner Meyer.
Vita.
Commissioner Vita. Commissioner French.
Hassan.
Commissioner Forney.
Vita.
Commissioner Hassan.
Myself.
President Bourne.
Hassan.
The total is 5 votes for Commissioner Hassan, 4 votes for Commissioner Vita. Commissioner Hassan is the Vice President for 2019.
Congratulations, Vice President Hassan. I would now open up nominations for Secretary of the Minneapolis Park Board for 2019. Are there any nominations?
Nominate Ringgold.
Deputy Superintendent Jennifer Ringgold's name has been entered into nomination. Is there a second?
I'd second it.
I think I heard multiple seconds. Deputy Superintendent Ringgold, would you accept the nomination? Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, I will close nominations. Is there anybody that would like to speak to the nominations? Seeing none, I will just ask for a voice vote, seeing that there is only one candidate for secretary. All those in favor of naming Deputy Superintendent Ringgold the secretary for 2019, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The vote is unanimous. Congratulations, first one of the night, Deputy Superintendent. I will now open up nomination for the selection of board attorney. Are there any nominations?
I
Commissioner
nominate
Severson?
Rice, Michaels, and Walters.
The firm of Rice, Michaels, Walter has been entered into nomination. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Council Rice, on behalf of Rice, Michaels, Walter, would you accept the nomination to serve as counsel?
We will.
Thank you, Council Rice. Would anyone like to speak to the nomination? Anyone like to speak to the nomination? I will close the nomination. All of those in favor of Rice, Michaels, Walter serving as the legal counsel to the Minneapolis Park Board for 2019, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? I'll note the selection was unanimous. Moving on to appointments to outside committees. Just a note that Commissioner Cogill will be completing the second of his 2-year term on the Planning Commission. On the Board of Estimate and Taxation, I will be reappointing myself with a staff liaison for Julie Wiseman. The Metro Blue Line Extension Corridor Management Committee, I'm appointing Commissioner Severson with Commissioner Meyer as an alternate, with Adam Arvidsson as the staff liaison. To the Cedar Riverside Partnership, I'm appointing Vice President Hassan with Assistant Superintendent Schroeder as the staff liaison. I'm making a note for the Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council. Our community appointment is the same person, but we do have a new staff liaison, and that is Adam Arvidsson. To the Internal Audit Committee, I'm returning Commissioner Meyer. To the John H.
It's
Stevens.
been eliminated.
No, that was 7.15.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. To the Internal Audit Committee, I'm returning Commissioner Meyer. To the John H. Stevens House Organization, Commissioner Musich with Lisa Beck as the staff liaison. To the Midtown Community Works Partnership, I'm appointing Commissioner Cogill with Assistant Superintendent Schroeder as the staff liaison. To the Minneapolis Downtown Improvement District, I'm returning Commissioner Vita with Assistant Superintendents Barrick and Schroeder to the staff liaisons. To the Minneapolis Institute of Arts Board, I am returning myself with Mr. Stenzel as the staff liaison. To the Minneapolis Parks Foundation, I'm asking Commissioner Forney to take that seat, and Superintendent Merrill and Superintendent Bangora will be the staff liaisons. To the Minneapolis Tree Advisory Committee, I'm appointing Commissioner French, Susan Olmstead, Peggy Booth, Giuseppe Marari, Jean Labor, Devin Hogan, and Ralph Sievert as the staff liaison. To the Minneapolis Riverfront Partnership, I'm appointing Commissioner Severson, Meyer, and Cogill. To the, to the Mississippi Watershed Management Organization, I'm asking Commissioner Meyer to take that appointment, and I would ask that Commissioner Severson be the alternate for that, with Cliff Swenson and Jeremy Barrick as our staff liaisons. The Neighborhood Revitalization Program Board, I'm appointing Vice President Hassan. To the Public Art Advisory Commission, Colleen Odell. To the Southwest LRT Community Work Steering Committee, I'm appointing Commissioner Cogill and Commissioner Meyer as an alternate. I'm asking Michael Schroeder and Adam Arvidsson to serve as the staff liaisons. To the St. Anthony Falls Heritage Board, I'm appointing Commissioners French, Vita, Meyer, and myself, and Superintendent Merrill and Superintendent Bangora will be the representatives there. To the Youth Coordinating Board, I am asking for Commissioner French to remain as our representative there, with Assistant Superintendent Cox as the staff representative. To the appointments of standing committees, to the Administration and Finance Committee, I'm appointing Commissioner Vita as chair, Commissioner Cogill as vice chair, Commissioners Hassan, Severson, and French. Deputy and Superintendent Ringgold will be the staff liaison. To the Recreation Committee, I'm appointing Commissioner French as chair, Commissioner Severson as vice chair, Hassan, Musich, and Forney, with Assistant Superintendent Cox as the staff liaison. To the Planning Committee, I am asking that Commissioner Forney remain chair of that committee, with Vice Chair Cogill, Vita, Meyer, and Severson, with Assistant Superintendent Schroeder as our staff liaison. To the Operations Environment Committee, I'm asking Commissioner Musich to chair that committee, with Commissioner French as vice chair, Meyer, Severson, Cogill, and Assistant Superintendent Barrick as the staff liaison. To the Committee on Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs, I'm asking that Commissioner Meyer remain chair, Commissioner Vita remain vice chair, French, Hassan, Severson, and Superintendents Merrill and Bangora will serve as the staff liaisons for that. On the Committee on Standards and Conduct, I'm appointing Vice President Hassan as chair, Commissioner French as vice chair, Severson, Cogill, Meyer, and Superintendents Merrill and Bangora as the staff liaisons. After receiving feedback from staff in our Park Police Work Group, including Chief Ojado, conversations I've had with Commissioner Cogill, I am creating a special committee on park police governance, operations, and oversight, where our park police working groups will be reporting through that committee. After conversations with former Chair Cogill, his opinion was that that is a lot of work to come up through that committee, and it deserves, with the amount of work we will be doing, a special attention there. I am asking, because I still would like, the work still belongs in the Administration and Finance Committee in some sense. I'm asking Commissioner Vita to also chair that committee. Vice Chair Hassan, Cogill, French, and Musich, and Chief Ohado will be the staff liaison for that committee. That concludes the appointments for 2019. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been,
Sorry. There's, I believe in one place you made a commissioner versus a community appointment.
can you reference the,
7.19 St. Anthony Falls Heritage Board. I think you had French, Vita, Meyer, and Bourne.
oh, you are correct. I will pull all of those appointments and we'll return the appointments on the 16th.
Okay.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, we are adjourned. I would call to order the regular meeting of January 2nd, 2019 to order. If the secretary would please call the roll.
Commissioner Vita. Here. Commissioner French.
Here.
Commissioner Forney.
I'm here.
Commissioner Musich.
Present.
Commissioner Cogill.
Here.
Commissioner Severson.
Here.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Vice President Hassan.
Here.
President Bourne.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'd like to amend the agenda.
A motion to approve it would be in order.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion, Commissioner Forney?
Yes, I'd like to amend the agenda under, what is it, new business, discussion item regarding the goals for our next superintendent.
You would like to add a discussion item under new business?
Yep.
And you would like to title that
Goals for our new superintendent.
Goals for 2019 Superintendent? Is that 2019 goals for superintendent? Okay, I think we all,
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
it's on video somewhere. There's been a move to amend the agenda. Is there any discussion on the amendment? I think I will allow Commissioner Forney first, followed by Commissioner Meyer.
Yes, the contract with, to be Superintendent Bangora, he has asked specifically for us to set out goals and objectives for him to be measured on. And so the sooner that we can put this on our agenda, I would like that to be something to search for for our staff to look into what is an appropriate time for us to have that happen.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Commissioner Meyer?
I think this is a perfectly appropriate thing for us to do, but not today because it wasn't on the agenda, and I'd like the opportunity to really reflect on this. And the superintendent's contract doesn't begin until January 20th. We have our meeting on January 16th. I think that would be the appropriate time to have this discussion.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Commissioner Severson, followed by Deputy Superintendent Ringgold, followed by Forney for a second time.
I appreciate that, Commissioner Meyer. Is this something that is typically done in the past? Can I ask that question?
I will try my best to answer that, and maybe Superintendent Merrill and Council Rice. I've only done this one other time. We do typically discuss the goals of the incoming superintendent. We did have a request from incoming Superintendent Bangora that we do articulate those goals as soon as possible. it would normally be something that would be scheduled on an agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Severson, Deputy Superintendent Ringgold.
President Bourne, my apology, I do not believe there's a second on this.
Is there, my apologies, is there a second on
Second.
Commissioner Frye? There's oh, you moved it?
I
Yep,
moved the
correct.
initial motion as
The amendment has been seconded. Thank you, Commissioner Musich. Commissioner Forney for the second time.
I would take Commissioner Meyer's suggestion to have that as a discussion item on January 16th.
Thank you.
For clarification, are you withdrawing your amendment, Commissioner Forney?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the amendment has been withdrawn. Any further?
Point of clarification, are you withdrawing with the understanding it will be on our next agenda?
Thank you. I just want to make sure that it's on our next agenda. Thank you.
I think that is,
President.
that's my understanding.
Okay, lovely. Thank you for the clarification.
The amendment has been withdrawn. Any further discussion on the approval of the agenda? Seeing none, all of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? The motion carries. We have a time certain item of 5:30, which we are sometime over, so I'm going to open up open time for the Park Board. Our open time is where we receive public comment from anyone in the community on virtually any topic to to give the board an idea of what things are of interest to them. This is a time for us to listen to the community and not to debate with the community. We do have a couple of guidelines that we ask of people. We first ask that if you have signage, we ask that people just be respectful of people that may be sitting behind them. And so if you have signs that you want to display, that you want us to see, that you please bring those to the perimeter of the room. We ask that folks, folks will be allotted 2 minutes per speaker. We have a few topics that we do not allow comment on. Those are pending litigation and personnel matters. If you would like to inform the board about any of those issues, the most appropriate way to do that is to contact commissioners or executive staff directly, and all of our information is on the Minneapolis Park Board's website. The Park Board does not tolerate discriminatory or harassing comments towards anybody, so we just ask that folks keep those standards in mind when you are making your comments. That said, our first speaker is Thomas Barker, followed by Derek Winston, followed by Al Flowers. Is Thomas here this evening? Thomas, if you would like to come forward to the microphone, state your name and, if you're comfortable, your address for the public record, and then you have 2 minutes to address the board as soon as you get the head nod from Ms. Ringgold.
My name is Thomas Barker. Address is 1516 Russell Avenue, North, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I am a coach of Pure Quality Boxing. I do business with the park as a independent contractor. I really want to bring up the fact that I've been here about 3 years doing work with the park. Never had fights with the kids. I always kept many kids. Many of them have worked with me. I have an issue about how vendors are paid. Sometimes it's 3 weeks out, sometimes it's 4 weeks out. I have employees, so I just wanted to be able to see what we can do about that end, because I had to end the contract for that, you know what I mean? And I got kids calling, I got parents calling, they still want the boxing in the parks. So that's really been my issue, to see who do I need to talk with, all that, so we can come to an agreement that's best for the kids, for us, and the park, you know what I mean? Because sooner or later, you know, some of these kids may become, get into the championships and all that. I have another one, Mr. Derek, if you'd like to come up if you want. But this is basically what we trying to do, is keep boxing in the park, you know what I mean? So that's my thing.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. Derek Wilson, followed by Al Flowers, followed by Emily Flower. Mr. Wilson.
Derek Winston, sorry to cut you off.
No.
I ain't never voted. I ain't never been part of nothing. I really didn't want to come here. I only came here because this guy right here, you know what I'm saying? I'm Coach Derek Winston of the Born Warrior boxing team. I've been in Minneapolis all my life, born and raised here, 1530 Oliver, 50 years here. Well, yeah, I done been to all the shootings, to all the things at the park boards. I grew up in park boards, under fire, gunfire, of course. You know, so bringing boxing, I thought it was a great idea. I didn't know what was going on this long. You know what I'm saying? I said, what? They let boxing go at the park board? Because, you know. So anyways, long story short is, I thought it was a great idea, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of people followed me. I brought 20 people within about, probably like within a couple of weeks, and as I came up to Falwell Park. I'm also familiar, you know, with North Commons. I've lived there all my life and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Even the last shooting of a kickball game, I've been down trying to help people and stuff. But the whole issue is, kids need a chance to defend themselves. And I've seen kids get beat up at the park and this and that, all these parks, all my life. So I thought it was a great idea, you know what I'm saying, that to have boxing there. It don't have to be contact, you know what I'm saying, it can be non-contact, but kids have a right to defend themselves going to the park. We had the same problem when we had a fighting chance boxing organization, you know what I'm saying, where kids was getting beat up and robbed coming to the gym, you know what I'm saying? But we escort our kids as coaches and stuff like that to the gym as a safe way. You know what I'm saying? I know park board probably ain't got the money for security, you know what I'm saying, for the parks, but it's got to find a way to get that better security for the kids. It's dangerous going to the parks. And these people I brought to the park will never even go to the park. These are first-time park people, kids and stuff I'm bringing to the park. Because the parks being so dangerous, people don't want to go to the park. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, I'm probably over my time almost, though, but I'm just happy to meet some people I didn't know was done like this, and presidents and all this. That's kind of nice. So I know who to contact now, so thank you.
I'll just note for Mr. Barker and Mr. Winston, if you would like to, if Ms. Cox, our Deputy Superintendent, or our Assistant Superintendent of Recreation would wave her hand, she might be able to connect with the two of you if you have any immediate questions tonight. But thank you for your comments. Al Flowers, followed by Emily Flower, followed by Pat Kerrigan. Al, welcome. If you would state your name and if you're comfortable, your address for the record.
Al Flowers. First, congratulations, Chairman Bourne and Hassan. But let me say to Commissioner Vital, you're one of my heroes. I don't care what happened. You got up, I think about Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, when they challenged the system. And you got up there and you challenged it. And as a black man, you are one of my heroes. Because black women are my heroes. Because my mother raised me. So when you sit up there and you just went through this, what you just had to go through, and some people that say they speak for us, but can't recognize a black woman, you know, we'll keep talking about that. It just don't die today. But I'm so proud to get up here and say that to you as a black woman. Oh, keep holding your head high. When Harriet Tubman took them to the Underground Railroad, she didn't let some of them go back because she know they was gonna tell. And always remember that. I am a descendant of a slave. I'm proud of you. And that's what I want to say there. And then get to the point about keep thinking about our kids and talking about the youth and recreation. And one of the things that when Superintendent Gervin was here before, after Mary Merrill Anderson, they had the park keepers, and they laid a lot of them off. I done read up on it now. They laid a lot of them off. That was a pathway. That's a way that we can, if we want to get diversity, that's how we can get equity in. And I ask this park board to make sure, I know what Street Reach, what Serena and all of them did out there in the parks, and we had a good summer in the parks last year. Let's make sure we strengthen them and strengthen teamwork. That's what y'all got up there and said. Y'all ran on it, and I'm looking at it. So the innovation dollars you got, make sure they get divided. But again, my last second, while the thing is beeping, I'm so proud of you, Commissioner Vital, and I know our community will be represented on this park board by you, and whatever we can do to support the cause, we will be there. And again, Chairman Warren, Hassan, y'all did it, but it was politics.
Thank you, Mr. Flowers.
He's not.
Our next speaker is Emily Flower, followed by Pat Kerrigan, followed by School Board Director Felder. Ms. Flower, if you would state your name and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record, and you have 2 minutes to address the board.
I'm Emily Flower. I live in 55412. Most of you know me. Some of you recognize me from the last time that I was in this building, when I was with my 16-year-old daughter, and we were arrested at a park board member. Most of you have seen the video and seen how ridiculous it was. And most of you have expressed that to me, or to her, or to the other 2 women who were arrested with us. But there's 2 of you who have not, and I think that it's shameful. And I've addressed both of you, and neither one of you still have done that. I think that there's some holding on to old ways. There's some holding on to the board before this one. They were removed for a reason. You all were elected for a reason. And what happened to me that day, and to my daughter, and to my soul mother, was part of that reason. And I think it's time for some accountability, not just for that, but for other issues. Some of the things that have happened on this board in the past year are really disheartening. It is really disheartening to know how hard we all worked to get you all elected, and to see the egos and the toxicity that are still ruining this board for the community. Your job is to represent us. You were elected to do that. Your job is to put your ego aside and do what's right for the children of this community.
Thank you, Ms. Flower. Our next speaker is Pat Kerrigan, followed by School Board Director Felder, followed by Samantha Priest-Stinson. Pat, are you still here? Pat Kerrigan? Not seeing Pat. We'll move on to Director Felder. Director Felder, if you would state your name and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record, and you have 2 minutes to address the board. Welcome.
Yes, hi, I'm Carrie Jo Felder, School Board Director for District 2, 4300 Russell Avenue North. Thank you, President Bourne and Commissioners. I just want to say Happy New Year to you. I want to say thank you to Mary Merrill for everything that you have done in coming back and helping lead the way and helping to show equity. That really touches my heart, especially with the Juneteenth celebration, so thank you very much, and a lot of other things that I'm going to get into. I just want to make sure that I have an open and direct line with all of you. It's been a busy year at the school board, and if some of you have full-time jobs on top of this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's been a busy year. I just want to make sure that we have a full, open, direct line, that you can come to me if you want to talk to me about full-service community schools, because they're very, very, very important. When I was going to high school, North High was a full-service community school. Our babies were on reading programs, baby reading programs. We had Sumatech, we had the VPA Arts that were performing in theaters. But if you wrote a poem about suicide, somebody would come to you the next day, if even that long, to come say, hey, are you okay? Our kids are not getting that today, and our kids are not okay. And so having those wraparound services are really important to the kids, especially in North Minneapolis. As you heard, these 2 gentlemen come up and talk about what goes on in their neighborhood, and some of you might not have that going on in your neighborhood. And that's okay, but you need to realize that it goes on in my neighborhood. And our kids need those pieces, and so when it comes to full-service community schools and doing those pieces, we all have to be a part of it. Because I remember, I grew up on the south side. Right? I went to Powderhorn Park. I would come over to Falwell Park with my cousins during the summertime. In the wintertime, we'd be like, this is your park? My park's much better because I was a Powderhorn Park kid, right? You know, and those are things that are still going on. And so we look at equity and what we have going forward in the year coming up. I'd like to keep it open and talk to you. So thank you, and Happy New Year, you guys.
Thank you, Director Felder. I'll ask again if Pat Kerrigan is here this evening. Did he maybe come back in the room? Okay. Samantha Priest-Stinson. Is Samantha here this evening? Samantha? I will keep going. Mohammed Salad. Is Mohammed here this evening? Mohammed, if you would come forward and state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record, and you have 2 minutes to address the board. Welcome.
All right. How y'all doing? My name is Mohammed. I live in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood, and I just came here to sort of talk about what's going on there and speak on behalf of the youth there. I think that the park board, first I want to thank you guys for doing what y'all are doing right now, trying to renovate Curry Park, which is a very densely populated park that I grew up on playing, and there's a lot of kids there, and we really don't have a lot of space and a lot of access to do all the things that we want to do. And secondly, I wanted to talk about space and access. I wanted to sort of relay that information that the Brian Coyle Center and that community of Cedar Riverside has very limited space and very limited programming, considering how many youth live in that area. So I hope that with the upcoming budget and with the upcoming year, you guys can do a better job of ensuring that we do get the programming that we need, and we get the funding that we need, and we get the spacing that we need, so that we can ensure that kids like me end up going to college and don't end up on the streets, that we can ensure that the violence that's happening in my community doesn't continue to happen. I think that you all have an obligation and a responsibility to communicate with us as youth, regardless of how old we are or if we have felonies or whatever situations that we're living in. I think that you have an obligation to come to us and speak to us and ask us what we need moving forward, so that you can ensure that you sort of do your job and get us the funding and the opportunities that we need. And secondly, I wanted to ask you guys to sort of push further, regardless of the language barriers. I know there is a language barrier, but getting to know the elders in our community, they really don't have anywhere to walk, anywhere to exercise, but they can't relay that information to you because they don't really speak the language. So hopefully you guys can do a better job of, and you guys are already doing a great job, but hopefully doing a better job of just communicating with our community. So thank you for that. And if you guys want to speak to me afterwards, I'll be here. So thank you.
Thank you, Mohammed. Is Postea Jama here? Postea? I will move on. Fartun Dell. Oh, Postea, if you would come forward and state your name, and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record, and you have 2 minutes to address the board.
Hello, my name is Pastor Jama of 1507 South 6th Street, Cedar Riverside. I just want to say the same thing that Mohammed Salat was saying. As a Cedar Riverside, programs are very limited. Kids are on the street. Violence are happening. We need to hear from you guys. We need you guys to come out, at least take a look. 6 o'clock, come out and see what it looks like. It's not safe. An elder cannot even walk on the street. So I know there's a budget coming on 2019. I want you guys to see the Riverside have been forgetting, so make sure this year it doesn't haven't been forgetting. We will include you. We'll come back. We'll keep coming back as a mothers, as a youth, as a sister, as a mother. So please, don't just ignore what's happening in Cedar Riverside. There's a lot happening, especially at Brian Coyle. We have a lot of issue at Brian Coyle. Thank you.
Thank you, Postea. And Mohammed, who just spoke, again, if Assistant Superintendent Cox could just wave her hand. If you have any questions for her on recreation programming, you can address them to her. Fartun? Fartun, if you would state your name and if you're comfortable, your address, and you have 2 minutes.
My name is Fartun Del. I live South Minneapolis. We are having the same issue. I think they all say the same. But I would like to add that Brian Coyle, half of the time is rented. I don't think the purpose that a building is there is not to rent, is to do the community service, and we're not getting the service that we deserve. So we would like to have more time. If you guys could give us the key, would be perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, and Ms. Cox is probably walking right by you right now. My next speaker is Almio Warsame. Is Almio here this evening? Almio, if you would state your name and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record, and you have 2 minutes to address the board. Welcome.
She said that she says hello to all of you here today.
Mohammed, if you could maybe get a little bit closer to the microphone. Thank you.
So she greets all of you that are here today.
waxaan ka hadlayaa waxa ay hooyo ayaa ahay waxaan ku noolahay Cedar Riverside.
She's a mother that lives in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood.
waxaan u baahanahay helbis aad u badan sida space oo kale ilmaha noogu ciyaaraan ciyaalka youthka iyo ciyaalka dhammaan ciyaalka oo dhan.
She says that as a mother, she needs a space for her children to play and to feel safe, regardless of if they're youth or not.
iyo dadka waayeelada dhammaan.
And also a space for the elders, so that they also have somewhere where they can come and do their exercises and relax and things of that sort.
waa mahadsantihiin aad iyo aad u mahadsantihiin wax kale aan sheegay ma jirto halaas ayaa u imid inaan ku hadlo.
That's it. Thank you so much for hearing me out.
Thank you, Vice President Hassan. If you would just like to refer her to.
أبي أشك إن وحدة تايريس حق في الأوتو أشك إذا عابنيسا. وده حق في التايريس كاكس قبلها إذا كو عابنيسا بزنس كان كقادو.
Thank you, Vice President Hassan. Halimo Hassan. Is Halimo Hassan here this evening? Halimo, if you would come forward and state your name and if you're comfortable, your address for the public record. And you have 2 minutes.
She greets she greets all of you that are here today.
magacayga waxaa la yidhahdaa xaliimo xasan waxaan deganahay 1515 South 4th Street.
Her name is Halima Hassan. She lives on 1515 South 4th Street.
Zip code-kaygana waa 55454.
And her zip code is 55454.
waxaan idin nimid markan waa 3 jeer aan idin nimid aan ka hadlayno wixii aan u baahnayn oo caawimaad ahaa.
This is the 3rd time that I've come here and spoken to either someone on the board or the board itself to sort of repeat that sort of need that we have for programming in our community.
wax jawaabana naga maydaan siinin hadda ka bacd ma garanayna inaad naga siinaysaan. waxaan u baahannahay boos ay ciyaalka iyo dadka waaweyn aan nologu caawiyo aan u baahannahay center.
She says that we still don't have any solutions from you guys, and we hope that in this upcoming year we could create more solutions to get a space in the Cedarside neighborhood that is very limited to space for both youth and the elders.
intaas ayaan caawa u nimid inaad nagu caawisaan haddaan hooyo nahay.
That is what we came here today as mothers to get help with that.
waa mahadsantihiin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And هاي حليمة waxaa ku caawinaysaa taageeraysa gabadhaas business card ka qaado iyada ku caawinaysaa.
Thank you, Vice President Hassan. That is my last speaker for open time. We will move into, we have no minutes to approve on the agenda this evening. We'll go to reports of officers. Superintendent Merrill.
Thank you, President Bourne. Just a few items that I wanted to note on my second to last meeting with you. And that is, of course, the annual Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration of his birth, which will be coming up on Monday, June the 21st. It's a short program from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. We have an MC by Chad Jackson. The keynote speaker will be Paul Robinson. The 2019 Living the Dream Award will be presented to Councilmember Andrea Jenkins. And there will be performances by Chastity Brown. And also, in his first public appearance, new Superintendent Al Bangora will also be there to give words of encouragement to the community. So I would encourage you to come on out. It'll be a wonderful celebration. Holly Gazel went on at Loring Park for the 4th year, and it's at least 4 or 5 years, Deputy Superintendent Ringo. And good attendance, great event. And so if you missed it, maybe in the future you'll try to get there for it. I think some of the issues that we may have had last year have been worked through and worked out, and so I think they had a great time. Forestry, with the start of the 6th year of the ash canopy replacement plan, forestry crews have resumed the removal of ash trees. This work, along with pruning, will continue until planting begins in April. And as the board knows, we restored all of those trees and the stump grinding this year in 2019. All of our ice rinks are open with the following exceptions, although the weather may play a little havoc with it this weekend. Lake Hiawatha Hockey, okay. It says poor conditions should be ready by the weekend, but I suspect that if the weather that we're talking about getting happens, that those poor conditions will probably continue. Longfellow, poor conditions, again, the same thing. It says rinks should be ready by the weekend, and I would just simply say that with the weather that they're predicting, I can't imagine that the rink conditions are going to be improved by that time. Armitage and Linden Hills and Powderhorn are also experiencing poor conditions. And at Powderhorn, because it's on a lake, the variable conditions across the lake pose a safety concern, so we may want to see how that works out for us. And with that, I think that's really all I want to report. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, President Bourne. Superintendent Merrill, would it be possible for us to get copies of the flyer for MLK Day in an electronic format so we can share them on social media?
Absolutely.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Musich and Superintendent Merrill. Moving on to consent business, I would entertain a motion for Resolution 2019-100, approving change order number 3 with JPMI Construction Company Incorporated for the Kenwood Community Center pipe repair and interior improvement project, contract number C43726, in the amount of $8,437 for a new contract total of $284,531.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on Resolution 2019-100? Seeing none, all of those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, the motion carries. Reports of standing committees, Chair Forney.
On behalf of the Planning Committee, I'd like to move Resolution 2018-351, resolution authorizing a cooperative agreement with Hennepin County for the land transfer of CPRO site to the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, accepting a grant from Hennepin County in the amount of $300,000 for the implementation of Phase 2 improvements of the site, amending the South Service Area Master Plan to include the CPRO site, and initiating a process under the land acquisition policy to determine a name for the property.
Thank you. The resolution has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on 2018-351? Seeing none, I would ask the Secretary to take the roll.
Commissioner Vita. Commissioner French.
Aye.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Cogill.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Vice President Hassan.
Aye.
President Bourne.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
The motion carries. Chair Forney.
I'd like to move Resolution 2018-352, resolution approving the creation of a parkland development and easement agreement with Hennepin County Housing and Redevelopment Authority and the City of Minneapolis for application of the private land maintained for public use parkland dedication option to Lake in Hiawatha, including Market Square, located on the southwest quadrant of Lake Street and Hiawatha Avenue, and releasing to Hennepin County Housing and Redevelopment Authority the parkland dedication fees paid and related to Phase 1 of Lake and Hiawatha.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on 2018-352? Seeing none, I would ask the Secretary to take the roll.
Commissioner Vita. Yes. Commissioner French.
Yes.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Cogill.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Vice President Hassan.
Aye.
President Bourne.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
The motion passes. Is this to Vice Chair Cogill, or is this still to you, Chair Forney?
This was totally fine for me.
Okay, Chair Forney.
Resolution 2018-353, a resolution approving an encroachment permit for the use of 30 square feet of land in front of the subject property of 2002 West Lake of the Isles Parkway, encroaching upon parkland at Lake of the Isles Parkway, a part of the Minneapolis chain of lakes regional park, and waiving appropriate fees for the service walk, at which time the owners replaced the approximately 112 square feet of public sidewalk immediately adjacent to the service walk, provided the public sidewalk is reconstructed to MPRB design standards and passes MPRB inspection.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on 2018-353? Seeing none, I would ask the Secretary to take the roll.
Commissioner Vita.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Cogill.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Vice President Hassan.
Aye.
President Bourne.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
The motion carries. Moving on to the Committee on Legislative and Intergovernment. Chair Meyer.
Move resolution 2018-355, that the board approve 1-year contracts with Rice, Michaels, and Walter, and Tom Workman for 2019 lobbyist services.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and multiple seconds. Are there any discussion on 2018-355? Commissioner Forney.
Yes, I've encouraged Councilor Rice. His description, his job description indicates that he's our parliamentarian. That's something I think that we should encourage. However, whether it be tutorials or something like that, any way that we can improve our parliamentary actions here, I think would be greatly appreciated. And so I'm encouraging him to exercise that in any way that he can suggest.
Thank you, Chair Forney. I think that would be under the purview of the council and not the lobbying contract, but it is the same person, so I think that is good advice. Is there any other discussion on 2018-355 on the lobbying contracts with Rice, Michaels, Walther, and Tom Workman for 2019 lobbying services? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? It passes unanimously. Moving on to petitions and communications. I will start with Commissioner Vita. Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you. So one of my resolutions for the new year is to improve my community engagement, and toward that end, I'm starting a new monthly event. I'm calling it Final Fridays with Chris. So, and I'm going to alternate different things I'm going to do. 4 months out of the year, I'll have a town hall. 4 months out of the year, I'm going to do a book club. And 4 months out of the year, I'm going to do board games. I think we need some relaxing things like that. So the first one is going to be this Friday, January 25th, 7 p.m. at Northeast Rec Center. So that'll be a town hall where you can come and talk to me about whatever issues, complaints you have, things that you want to see done, your favorite movies. I don't really care. And I'll stick around until the building closes at 10:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. I was hoping the first one would be board games, but Commissioner Severson. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Cogill. I'm sorry.
Thank you, President Bourne. Well, I'm very excited to start a new year off. I'm looking forward to the new superintendent. My New Year's resolution was to eat more dessert, but I will try to up my game now that Commissioner Meyer is holding these Final Fridays. I just want to say that it's now been a year exactly, and I'm excited to start off a new year, and I'm especially excited to support my fellow commissioners in the various committees that I have been assigned to. That is what I'm going to focus on this year, diving deep into every single issue that comes before us in committee, which I think is really important because that's where I think we should be detail-oriented so that all that work happens in committee and then it comes to the full board for final approval. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Cogill. Commissioner French.
I want to just kind of echo Commissioner Cogill's by saying this has been a great year. It's been a year since we've been elected and been in power. Each one of these commissioners that sit up here has a uniqueness about them, and I've got a chance to understand and try to know those uniqueness qualities about each one of our commissioners. And I know there's been some beef and some struggles with us getting along in the past, but I want to personally say I'm reaching out to folks who may have thought in the past that I haven't reached out to them and say, hey, let's make this year coming up in the future the best year we could have ever had, right? So I'm personally reaching out to some of my fellow commissioners. Call me, my number's open, my number's on. Give me a call. I really want to work with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner French. Commissioner Forney.
Pass.
Commissioner Severson.
So I had the honor of speaking at Floyd B. Olson Middle School, and I love saying that name, Floyd B. Olson, because he is a Northsider and one of our former governors. And I was super excited to know that every sixth grader in that 30 student class all know who Floyd B. Olson was. So that was pretty awesome. I really enjoyed that. We had conversations over cookies and did I do Pop-Tarts maybe? Juice, I think, something or another. So one thing that the kids discussed that I'm super interested in is this Ninja Challenge Park. They have one, I think it's in Golden Valley. So it seems like all the kids at that school have been there. It's super exciting, fun. I think I have to visit it myself. Maybe a few commissioners, we can go down there together and run through the course. The other one that was interested is this young lady knew that I was coming to speak, and she told her mother about it, and she said, well, you should tell Kayla that adults want outdoor workout equipment, like stationary outdoor workout equipment. So I thought that idea was cool too. So just some outside of the box thinking for recreation in the future. I just want everyone to know this evening that I am super optimistic about going into 2019. I want to partner with everybody on this board. I have said this before and I'll say it again. We have way more in common than we disagree on. And I want to also let everyone know that I'm willing to partner and work on goals that everybody and ideas that everybody has on improving our parks. The one request that I do have of this board is that we refrain from sighing, sucking teeth, deep breaths while some commissioners are speaking. It's really hard for me to concentrate, and I want to make sure that we're all respectful to all of our colleagues up here. I'm okay with being called out if I do that myself. Sometimes I need reminders. There's two people in the crowd I'm looking at that always give me reminders about my face or about my actions, and I promise to work on that, and I promise to work with every individual on this board to help the mission of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board.
Thank you, Commissioner Severson. Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, President Bourne. And thank you all for saying you'd like to work with everyone. I appreciate that. I'd love if everyone could empty their email and voicemail boxes so that we don't get messages that they're full when we call. That would be awesome. Or if you haven't set up your voicemail box, if you could do that as well, because it would be lovely to be able to connect with people to talk about things rather than sending messages into a void. So I'm glad to hear that people would like to work together. That's an encouraging start to the year. I wish it would have also come with a change in leadership, and unfortunately that did not occur.
Thank you, Commissioner Musich. Vice President Hassan.
Thank you, President Bourne. Well, I just want to tell you guys, this has been an honor for me to serve in this with my colleagues sitting in this dais. Has been one of my greatest honor in my lifetime. And working closely with President Bourne, I've learned a lot, and I'm continuing to learn a lot every single day. And as a leader and someone who represents a big operation, big park system, we'll always have a challenge, because the job is not easy. And I'm not making it easy. I'm willing to work every day, as I have been working hard every single day for the last 12 months. And for some commissioners, they might say, AK is not prepared for this job. But I'll tell you, you learn from your mistakes. And I'm willing to learn from my mistakes. I'm willing to do better. And I'm willing to work with everyone who's sitting here and those who are not here. And the ones who voted against me today, it shows me there's a room for me to grow and to be a better person. Because if everyone agreed with me, then I would think everyone was okay, And that's what a leader does. You reflect back, you learn from your mistakes, you find a way to grow, work with others. And I'm willing to echo what Commissioner French said, that I'm willing to reach out. I know for some people, we still think, there's some things about campaigns, but it's over. We serve in the city, the people of Minneapolis, not our political interest. I know it's not over for some people, but I am over it, and I'm willing to work with everyone. And I ask that we all come together to work for the interest, for the best interest of our city and our kids. And that's why I got elected. I didn't get elected to make everyone, that's sitting here happy. I got elected to get done the work that I was elected for the people of Minneapolis and the people of District 3. And as you guys heard, I've never seen moms in the smaller community coming up on the podium, speaking, up there for the issues. That shows you there's people are waking up, they have a voice, and they see me, sitting there. They count on me, and I'm willing to work with all the commissioners, and we have a lot of work to do. That's all I can say. And I'm willing to work with everyone. Thank you so much. Pass.
Thank you, Vice President Hassan. Commissioner Forney.
Yes, we have a time certain.
Okay. I will just pass. I want to thank everybody for the great work we've done together in the past year and the great work we have coming up in 2019. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, we are adjourned. Chair Forney.
I'd like to call the Planning Committee to order. Would the Secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Severson.
Here.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Commissioner Vita.
Here.
Vice Chair Cogill.
Here.
Chair Forney.
Here.
You have a quorum.
I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, December 19th, 2018.
So moved.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Okay, so we have a public hearing, and this is regarding Curry Park, Phase 1 improvements for the splash pad. And I don't know, do we have anybody who is signed up to speak? We'll go and find out. But we will have a presentation, at least, by Daniel, who we need to congratulate, who is a father. And we are so excited for him. Two, exactly. But it just, when do we have our little one?
Father again.
Huh?
Father again. December 19th was his birthday.
Congratulations. Glad you're here, though.
So go easy on me. No,
Oh, okay. We'll try. This is a really heavy one, I know. No, thank you.
I have it on my screen. I don't know if you have it on yours yet. So, good evening, Chair Forney, committee, board, Happy New Year. So I'll be presenting the splash pad concept plan for Curry Park, which is a part of the overall Phase 1 improvements project. As others have noted tonight, Curry Park sits within the South Service area in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood between two light rail lines, 35W and 15th Avenue South. It is the highest density neighborhood in Minneapolis outside of downtown. The master plan, which was approved as part of the South Service Area Master Plan, envisions significant changes to Curry Park, looking to maximize recreational year-round space. Recognizing that the small piece of land sits within an extremely dense neighborhood, the master plan looked to create a park that was a year-round destination for children and families. So with the funding that we have for Phase 1 improvements, there's a few notes about this funding. The full master plan envisioned $7 million worth of improvements in 2017 construction costs, and the 2023 CIP does include $355,000 of MPP 20 play area rehab for Curry Park. But what this project is being funded through is 2018 and 2019 MPP 20 funds, along with 2018 park dedication dollars. And that brings us to the scope of the Phase 1 improvements project, which includes the splash pad. So there'll be a new splash pad, which will be replacing the broken existing wading pool, a new restroom building, again replacing an existing and broken restroom building. Playground improvements within the existing container, trail and lighting improvements throughout, ADA parking improvements in front of the Brian Coyle Community Center, as well as safety fencing along 15th Avenue South, and if funding allows, a new full court basketball in the southern corner of the park. And if we aren't able to afford the full court basketball, we will leave the existing basketball courts where they remain today. Additionally, the Curry Park did receive $100,000 in public art funding, which is being integrated into the project scope in a to-be-determined fashion. So with the help of Abdirahman Mukhtar and the community outreach staff, we've done quite a bit of community engagement to lead both to this project scope as well as to the splash pad design itself. That includes 15 key stakeholder meetings with Pillsbury United Community staff, as well as the Somali Elder Group, Korean Elder Group, with interpretation provided at those meetings. We've went into the Cedar Riverside Community School and discussed the project with a class on public achievement. We've had 2 public information sessions, one in Riverside Plaza as well as one in the Opportunity Center. We had 4 pop-up engagement sessions, 3 which were at the park and 1 at Somali Independence Day. We did an online survey to go along with our typical public hearing mailings, news releases, and our Gov deliveries and public website. Overall, we engaged with over 375 members of the public regarding this project. The splash pad is planned to be located just northeast. This is not a Plan North document, so apologize for that. Just northeast of the playground. And we started by asking community members when we were doing engagement in the park what types of features and themes they'd be looking for in the above ground spray features, and through that feedback helped our design consultant as well as vendor design the splash pad. And some of the key feedback that we received is that they were looking for something extremely durable. They wanted age-separated areas for the younger kids to not have to interact with the 10, 12, 13-year-olds who might be running around a little faster than the younger kids. A desire for more seating and more shade. We also asked about the type of ground spray features that was desired within the Curry Park splash pad. Used those results as well to design the splash pad. And then looking for some themes, both color or otherwise, and the preference was for sort of a cool blue toned splash pad, which you'll see borne out in the actual splash pad concept. And so what you're seeing here is a focused shot on the 2 to 5 year old zone within the splash pad. with cool colors, age separation, and durability as sort of the key features. In the 5 to 12-year-old zone, focusing again on very durable features. We've been working with the vendor to make sure that these are features that can withstand high use, as we know it'll be a well-used splash pad. And then an overall look of the splash pad. Some of the other feedback that we get that isn't really directly related to the splash pad relating to seating, we are planning a 120-foot seat wall to wrap around the eastern side of the splash pad to allow for additional seating. And we've located the splash pad near some existing trees, and we're planning for future shade structures if funding allows within those areas. We also have a playground that actually, when it was built in 1993, had additional space for play features that were never built or never installed at the time. So we'll be infilling within the playground to add more features within the Phase 1 improvements project. And so we requested some feedback from community members at the park on what they would like to see added to their playground. We also did a playground safety and accessibility audit, and we'll be addressing all those issues to get us to that 2023 year in which there's additional funding for playground rehab coming to Curry Park. So we're here today, it's January 2nd, at the public hearing. We're hoping to put this document out to bid here in the next few months and be bringing you a contract award in March. And this will be a project that we're hoping is under construction this summer for as short of an amount of time as possible. We're planning on leaving the existing athletic field open during construction. It's one of the only areas that's being untouched by construction. And as elements are completed by the contractor, we would then open that up to the public, trying to limit the amount of downtime that these features are unavailable to members of the public. Thank you.
Thank you. I understand we don't have anybody who is signed up for the open time, unless there's somebody here who didn't get signed up. Once, twice. Okay, I will close then the open time and open it up for discussion. Anybody want to discuss? Oh, good. Commissioner French.
I just got one question. Is this splash pad going to be accessible for folks who have disabilities?
Yes, Commissioner French. Splash pads are inherently accessible. Unlike wading pools, they don't actually hold water, so you can really enter at any side. The key feature being that we don't want to exceed really more than 2% in any direction. As long as water flows to the drains, the entire thing will be accessible.
Thank you.
Commissioner Colville.
Thank you, Chair Forney. I have a question regarding any technological improvements that splash pads have experienced since the installation of some of the splash pads that have consistently experienced shutdowns. I mean, are they going to continue to freeze? Are we going to keep seeing regular needs for maintenance that's requiring shutdown, or are they more durable than in the past, or what are the concerns there?
Yes. So the above ground features, we've been focusing on durability. Relating to the mechanical components, we've been working with both our designer, the vendor, as well as those that worked at the Phillips Aquatic Center, and working with the designer as well at that's working on Phelps, I believe, also has a splash pad coming. So we've started to really standardize some of the equipment that we're going to be utilizing across all of the splash pads to make sure they're consistent for staff to maintain. I can't speak to necessarily where they were before this project, but we're making efforts to make sure that staff are going to be seeing the same types of pumps when they go to our splash pad, the same types of filters, so that they have consistency when staff move around our system.
Okay, and another question regarding that. Is it too early to estimate if we've kind of spec'd out what maintenance is going to look like over a 10, 20-year period for those relative to like a pool or another feature?
We did start to analyze, Commissioner Cogill, some of those features. I don't think we'll really know until we get our hands on one this size, this scale. There are some in other systems that have many, many more moving parts that take a much longer time to shut down. We expect this to be fairly similar to a wading pool energizing, and then shutting off at the end of the year, that it will be approximately about the same amount of staff time, assuming that all things are working well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No other questions? Okay, well, I have a couple. Sorry, Danielle.
That's great.
So just clarification. So you're saying that there is no water that at all, shall we say, standing water? It just basically runs into the drain. There's no depth to it at all.
Correct. Chair Forney, it's one of the main benefits of a splash pad is that a parent who's bringing a small child isn't have to keep their eye on them like they might at a wading pool, because you can drown in 1.5 feet of water. Where there's actually no standing water, there's less fear of drowning. There's no required fencing around it, so kids can run from the playground to the splash pad to the athletic field without a barrier.
Awesome, thank you. And then the other thing is, I'm so excited to hear that you might possibly have money or funds for shade structure. I feel like it's almost something we should require wherever. Michael and I did talk about this, that I do believe that the National Dermatology Society or whatever does give grants for, I don't believe that they would fund the entire thing, but it's something that I don't know what the legal problem is, but People for Parks was wanting to advocate to do the funding for shade structure, and I'd really love to have that explored again. Because, you know, if we can get things relatively inexpensive, I think we should install it, you know, along with the splash pad. So otherwise, it looks like great fun. Can't wait for summertime.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
And once again, congratulations and Happy New Year. Oh, excuse me. Yes, Commissioner Kassan.
Thank you, Commissioner Bonnie. Dale, people are complaining about having less public hearings. Are there any other more planned, public hearings coming up in Cedar Riverside or that area?
So there'll be additional engagement relating to other projects in Cedar Riverside, but relating to the splash pad itself, we would move from this public hearing to our construction documents to put the project out to bid. If there's folks interested in having any direct conversations with me, I guess I'd ask you to direct them to me, and I can reach out to them personally.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. So, Resolution 2019-101.
I would move Resolution 2018-101. Resolution approving the splash pad conflict plan for Ferry Park.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Okay, with that, then I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned.
Time being 6:44, I'll call to order the Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee. Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Severson.
Here.
Commissioner Hassan.
Here.
Commissioner French.
Here.
Vice Chair Vita. Here. Chair Meyer.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion to approve the minutes of December 19th, 2018?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion for Resolution 2019-102?
So moved.
So this is the state legislative agenda, and I'll pass out copies of this. And I'm just going to go through some of these items, especially the ones that are new or different in one way or another. The first few are pretty standard. You know, we're fighting to increase our local government aid at a very minimum to increase it at a level of inflation. We're also seeking to protect some of the things that we already have, especially the distribution of legacy funding. We want to make sure that we keep the 40-40-20 split. We want to protect the operations and maintenance funding from the lottery. We want to expand Teen Works. So, you know, we have this grant from DEED, $200,000 a year. We have a lot of demand for that, so we are asking for $800,000 from the state. We also have kind of a multi-jurisdictional campaign for youth. and we're seeking different sources for things like Youth Line, and seeking to expand full-service community schools. We have the one that we passed this year with the increase in the levy, and Governor Walz has a strong interest in this issue. I spoke to Representative Davney about the subject this afternoon. He has previously sponsored legislation that would provide $10 million for grants for this type of thing, and that could be something that the Park Board could apply for. In the previous session, we got $10 million for Metro Parks funding, but the funds were taken from LCCMR. So a lot of environmental groups weren't happy about that. They sued. The bonds have not been issued yet. So that is for projects in Minneapolis. It's for Waterworks and for Halls Island. That hasn't been issued yet. So one thing that we want to see happen is hopefully that they make that lawsuit moot by using general obligation funds instead of LCCMR funds. We also want to continue seeking funding for invasive species and prevention. I was hoping that we'd be able to take Crown Hydro off the agenda, but apparently we want to, just to be sure, we left it on there in case something new arises. We have the old issue of MRF where we made a deal about the pensions, and then Republicans raided that, and because they saw Minneapolis in the name, basically. We'd like to restore that funding. We also need to get the money for the Stone Arch Bridge. We got $1 million last year. So last year, MnDOT was saying that they needed 13 million. So we put in the agenda that we want 11.9 million, so 13 minus the 1. Hopefully that's all we need. By the time they actually get to it, it might be further decayed, so it might end up being more than that, but that needs to be a top priority. We passed our master plan for skate parks, and Senator Dibble and some others are very interested in helping provide grants to help fulfill that mission, so we want to provide more funding for skate park funding. We want to support the initiatives for the visitor center at the Lock-in Dam. Like it says in here, the funding for this has yet to be defined, but we still want to be generally supportive. We have some policy initiatives that two of them we've already passed, different resolutions for, one on the exaggerated 911 calls, one on fossil fuel divestment, a couple new ones on liquor. We want to support changes in legislation to allow licenses at golf courses and at sculpture gardens. We see a lot of revenue opportunities that we're missing right now because of state restrictions on that. We also want to take a general stance against preemption. We've had a lot of issues with that on things like minimum wage, plastic bag bans, etc. And then it's not clear if this is going to be a bonding year or not. Generally, the bonding years are the even years, but sometimes they do it in odd years as well. And some legislators believe that this will be a bonding year. So this has several new projects that we'll be seeking, some of them pulled from 2021. The one I'm most excited about is that there's the addition of the Grand Rounds missing link. So that's generally a summary of some of the changes. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Forney.
Yes, thank you, Chair Meyer. Regarding the Stone Arch Bridge, if I remember correctly, there was $1 million that was put towards inspections. And number one, did the inspection happen? And was there an assessment of costs?
I just saw that Senator Zizik announced an event, I believe it was on January 14th. So I expect we'll see an update about that then.
It would be my only concern is that we make sure that we've got enough that we're asking initially for.
Yes, and I'll just point out that the Stone Arch Bridge is actually a MnDOT request. It's not ours, so it's not our responsibility to identify
Right.
how much it costs. But, so the path on the bridge belongs to the park board, but the part that actually needs repair below the water belongs to MnDOT. So we'll have that when they get it.
Right, at least we can be a partner in it. And then the other one was the the Upper St. Anthony Falls Lock and Dam. So that is, in essence, to be determined, is that what I'm understanding?
Yes.
Okay.
Councilor
But-
Rice, could you expand on that one?
This was the lock and dam proposal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is more in the nature of support efforts of others. That's the group that's been formed.
The Friends of the Lock and Dam?
Yeah.
Okay.
Friends of Lock and Dam. There's a federal disposition study for the lock, and
Right.
they were active last year in trying to seek some bonding money. They were not successful, but like a lot of bonding projects, it usually takes 3 or 4 turns at the plate before you get a hit, unless you're the Stone Arch Bridge.
Well, anyway, I appreciate that clarification, that it's unknown. Thank you. That's it.
Commissioner Musich?
Well, now my mic is on. Yes, it is. Thank you, Chair Meyer. I'm not on this committee, but I appreciate being given an opportunity to speak. Can you verify for me that the Campaign for Youth and expansion of full-service community campus initiative are both part of the Minneapolis Public Schools legislative agenda for 2019 as well?
I cannot. It's too bad Carrie Jo is gone. But my understanding is that this is part of a joint initiative.
Okay. If we could verify that before the legislative breakfast, I think it's something we probably should highlight, that it's multiple body
Absolutely.
effort being lobbied for, not just the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. Helps if we can use our friends. Thanks.
And thank you for reminding us about the legislative breakfast. That will be Friday, January 25th at 8 a.m. at the Nicollet Island Inn. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, sorry, we need to pass it, sorry. My bad. So all in favor of Resolution 2019-102, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes. And we are now adjourned.
Mr. Chair, if I could just make a comment. I think the breakfast you announced is really pretty important. This matter will come before the board after that breakfast to finalize it. So if there's questions, then I really would encourage commissioners to get all your legislators there. I mean, it's really an important moment. Not only get them there, but continue to talk to them. I'm glad Commissioner Myers already started a conversation with Jim Davney. Representative Davney chairs one of the most important committees in the legislature, the K-12 committee, or pre-K to 12. It's the single largest bill that the legislature passes, and issues that we talked about on the Campaign for Youth or full service community schools would be something that ultimately wind up in his committee. Representative Wagenius always plays an important role on environmental funding, Representative Hornstein on transportation. And excitingly, we have several new members of the legislature. If we can get their attention early on some of these issues, it would be important. Representative Knorr, Representative Gomez, Representative Adon, and Representative Long are all new, but they have a lot of energy, and if they can either, well, committee assignments are done, but if we can get this in front of them, the sooner the better, to have them take an interest in our priorities, because it's, we're down to about, they convene next week, but it's about a 18, 19-week session, so there's a lot to do and not a lot of time to do it.
Thank you. Yes, and I have had really productive meetings with all of the freshman legislators. All right, just to make sure the meeting is actually over, is there a motion to adjourn? Give me a motion. I know. Okay. But, okay. I didn't know if it.
Make sure the records.
Okay. Make it one, just to be sure.
There was a motion. It was voted on.
Yes.
It
but then we
passed.
had some more discussion.
And then they just started talking.
We had to have the motion, and I just, for procedural reasons.
Okay.
Please make a
I
motion
think
to do it again.
another one? The motion to
Okay.
adjourn was probably possibly out of order because you had a motion on the
Yeah.
floor that was not dealt with.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We adjourn.
The time being 6:56, I'd like to call to order the Admin and Finance Committee.
Commissioner French.
Here.
Commissioner Severson.
Here.
Commissioner Hassan.
Here.
Vice Chair Cogill.
Present.
Chair Vita.
Here.
You have a quorum.
I'd like approval on the agenda, please.
So moved.
Approval of the minutes?
I'll-
No. Oh, right. All in favor of the agenda?
Could you refresh our memory of who's on this committee
Yeah,
now?
I was just thinking the same thing.
I'm really sorry.
don't think
I
you
only
can
wrote
tell
down
me.
chairs
Yeah.
on my list. I couldn't write fast enough.
I didn't realize I was not on this committee.
I will move to the approval of the agenda.
But who's on the committee?
First of all, I'm confused.
Chair Vita, Commissioner Musich. The members of this committee are Chair Vita, Vice Chair Cogill, Vice President Hassan, Commissioner Severson, and Commissioner French.
Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, so I move to approve the agenda.
All in favor of approving the agenda?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Approval of the minutes?
I move we approve the minutes of Wednesday, November the 28th, 2018.
So moved.
All in favor of approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, you shaking your head? Okay, so we have an action item. And the board will adopt resolution 2019-103. Resolution approving a lease agreement with Alfred Van Gora, leasing space at 3954 Bryan Avenue South, Minneapolis, located within the Lindale Farmstead Park for a term of up to 1 year.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? No? Any discussion? Commissioner Forney?
Thank you, Chair Vito. I am not on this committee, but I'm pleased that our future superintendent is interested in being in the House. And it looks to me like the terms and conditions are basically the same as what we had with former Superintendent Miller. I just want to point out to people, being the real estate person on the board, there's a clause called quiet enjoyment. And there's been an awful lot of publicity about the fact that Superintendent Fisher left because one of the reasons why is because he didn't feel he had privacy. And this is really the point. It's not a matter of privacy of whether or not there's curtains on the windows, there's too much glass, or things like that. Quiet enjoyment is something being that this sits on public land. It's different than, let's say, the homes that you live in. You sit on private land, and this is a real conundrum, for this particular house. So I just want to make sure that people understand that what is being referred to is, such as former Superintendent Miller, I think it was like 7:30 in the morning, people were outside of her door ringing the doorbell, and that would be something that quiet enjoyment should cover. But being you're on public property, it's a very different type of situation. So I just wanted to share with everybody that this is a unique property because of that. And we just need to be very sensitive to that for our future tenant, to realize that they have not quite the privileges that all the rest of us will in this tenancy.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Commissioner French?
I guess I got a few questions. Right now, currently, there is tours going on at the Theodore Worth House. How does that affect, how does the superintendent living there affect these tours that are going on currently?
Thank you, Commissioner French. I think a couple of things. One of the things that we need to do is to explore how that will affect that, to what extent that will be able to continue. We're discussing that with Superintendent Bangor as he comes in terms of what impacts that will have on his ability to live there. And certainly discussing it with Joan Berthune and the Legacy Group in terms of what they have been doing. Right now, they have a permit that ends on January 7th. So we'll be able to kind of have a conversation, hopefully as early as this weekend, about how that might look and or feel.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anybody else who wants to add anything to that.
I've had a chance to go over there. Nat, I heard there was a great holiday decoration. I haven't had a chance to witness those yet, but I heard they're fantastic. I did have a chance to go and visit with Joan maybe a few months ago, and she gives the most. I asked for the nickel tour. I don't think that's available over at the Theodore Worth House, the nickel tour. So I got a pretty good substantial tour and figured out some of the habits and goings on of Theodore Worth. So it's a really great experience that a lot of school children have gotten a chance to experience. So I wanted to figure out if we can still maneuver that into the fold or whatever.
Well, like I said, I think we'll look at what is possible, and it certainly won't be the same as it is today, but we can certainly look at what might potentially be possible for everyone's benefit.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to take a tour of the house for the first time a couple years ago, and I was really impressed. I did not think it was a dump at all. I thought it was a really great mansion, and I was really impressed with the tour guides, some of whom are here today. They put a lot of love and work into that, and I, would like to see that continue in one form or another. I'm not sure how that's going to work with this, but I really appreciated that opportunity and would like to have everyone have that opportunity. Thank you.
President Bourne.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Vita. I just wanted to maybe ask if Assistant Superintendent Schroeder, just because I know that this is an item of interest with a lot of folks, if we might just want to talk about how we came to the portion of the house that is rented, the portion that it will be required to still be public, and how we determined determine what market value, what a market value fair rent would be. If you could just maybe just walk us through that.
Chair Vita, President Bourne, I can certainly do that. In July, we presented some information to the board about trying to establish what we consider to be a fair market value going forward, knowing that there would be a new superintendent that may potentially be interested in occupying the Worth home. At the time, we couldn't find any documentation determining how the lease area to Superintendent Miller was quantified. We did our own quantification based on drawings of the house and came up with an area that totaled 1,431 square feet or something like that. And so that was important for us in comparing the areas of the house where there would be what we called exclusive use, which is essentially the upper floors of the residence, not inclusive of the hallways or other areas that might be considered common to the structure. That would provide for the first floor and the lower level to essentially be non-exclusive use for an occupant, in this case, for Superintendent Bangora. So the lease is essentially based on the 1,430 square feet of the exclusive use portion of the structure. When we presented to the board in July, we presented two different alternatives for the value of the rental of the structure. We had engaged Renters Warehouse, essentially a real estate industry specialist, to assess that particular property in that particular location relative to other similar properties if they could be defined. and Richard Kokurik of Renters Warehouse was our consultant, and he established a range of values beginning at $2,200 per month and going up to $2,600 per month. We took that value for the entire structure and apportioned it to the portion that was exclusive use, and we would have come up with a value that was somewhere between $1,016 and $1,228. At the same time, we took Superintendent Miller's lease value at, I believe it was $1,154, and escalated it by the amount of the Consumer Price Index for each of the years with a projection for 2018, and we came up with $1,325. The two rental structures being relatively close, if we compared the upper end of the Renters Warehouse proration at $1,228 to the $1,325, we determined, just to be safe, we will go with the $1,325 per month.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent. I just wanted to recognize that in my conversations with incoming Superintendent Bangora, he has expressed interest in living in the house for a term while his family is finishing up the school year in Mecklenburg. And he is, I don't think that there is any intention that he wants to live in the house long-term. He's talked about house shopping plans, but that said, he has not been in the house yet, to my knowledge. So when he's coming to visit in the next couple of days, he will be looking at the house and seeing if this is something that is of interest to him. Some of the things that I just wanted to highlight that are a little bit different from the previous lease is I did talk to Superintendent Bangora about an early termination, the ability to terminate the lease early without penalty. So if he does come to the city and buys a home, and we don't want to have him caught with having to pay out a lease for the park board. So that was something that we negotiated. He's also expressed a lot of interest in to Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner French's concerns. He has expressed some personal interest to me in finding ways to make sure that the unique history of the house remains available to the public, and the recognition that it is a unique treasure in the country. But I think we've all expressed that there will be some unique challenges with that. So that will be part of the conversation that Superintendent Bangora and Superintendent Merrill and the Parks Legacy Society have the next couple of days, and seeing if that is something that can happen. I just wanted to say also to the Parks Legacy Society, I mean, they are a treasure in the city of Minneapolis, and the home, our entire park system was designed out of the drafting room of the lower level, and it is a treasure. We've worked with the Parks Legacy Society in the past about pursuing even a national landmark designation. It's listed on the Historic Register now. One of the things I agree with Commissioner Meyer. It is by no means a dump, but it has had some neglect over the years, and it becomes an amenity that is, from what I've seen over the past, it's very politically challenging to spend money on it to maintain it to the level that it deserves. And it is a national historic treasure. We don't want it to fall down, but it does need some attention for folks that have been through it. Plaster is falling from the ceilings in some areas. There's, I think there were some squirrels at some point. The roof is probably ending. There's a flat roof that is aging and probably running out of its usable life. So the building does need some love, and we do need to recognize that it is a treasure. But this is brought forward in the committee. I would anticipate after Superintendent Bangora sees the house, he will make some decisions, but when it comes back to the full board, the timing should align to then if he wants to live in the house, we'll then pass it at the full board and we'll give him time to move in. If he doesn't want to live in the house, then we would just drop the item from the agenda. But and I will also just say, if Superintendent Bangora is in town for the next several days, I meant to say this during petitions and communications, I think he is willing and interested in meeting with every commissioner while he is here, so,
John will be calling.
Mr. Goodrich will help arrange some one-on-one meetings with any commissioners that want to spend a little bit of time with Al before you get started. But that said, thank you, Chair Vita, for bringing the resolution forward.
Superintendent Merrill?
Yeah, I just wanted to make note of the fact that when we talk about public access, that is a little different than the public access that was available during the former superintendent Miller. And I just want us to be clear that having public tours as a part on a regular basis is a little different in terms of what was the word you used, Commissioner?
Quiet enjoyment.
Quiet enjoyment is a little different. And so just to keep that in the back of our minds as we are talking with Superintendent Bangor about what does that mean and how he's able to best utilize the facility. I think he's very excited about the opportunity to live there. I think he also is excited about the opportunity to look at what can be worked out with the legacy group at the Worth House, but also at the same time be able to have a place that he can call his home for the whatever period of time he would be willing to do so. So that's it.
Commissioner Forney?
Thank you, Chair Vito, for a second time. First of all, can somebody remind me how old is Al's son? An 8th grader? Yes, at the 8th grade or something? Anyway, I just think that that's a unique situation that, he will be having family potentially there, and for all of us to be very cognizant of that. And I want to remind people that it's been a request that we look at our historic properties comprehensively, and that is something that we will be looking at with the comprehensive plan. It's a big issue, how we deal with all of these historic properties, both financially, from an access standpoint, et cetera. So what we determine as far as the Theodore Worth House going forward, I hope will be something that can be applied throughout, or vice versa, that, what we do with the Godfrey House, the Stevens House, et cetera, will be something that will be applicable for Theodore Worth. So please keep that in mind.
Any further discussion? All in favor of resolution 2019-103, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Adjourn. What'd you say? All in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.
We didn't do that.